Good evening. On behalf of the governing body of the City of Passaic, we welcome you to the July 21st, 2026 City Council meeting. In accordance with Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by resolution of the Municipal Council adopted on June 16th, 2026, setting forth the schedule of meetings for the year 2026-2027. Said notice was published and posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board by the Office of the City Clerk. Please be further advised that this meeting will be conducted in person. The Zoom stream provided is for viewing only and is offered to the public as a convenience on July 6, 2026. Public notice and Zoom instructions for this meeting were posted on the City of Passaic website at www.cityofpassaic.com. Council agendas. Instructions are also available on the last page of this agenda. Please be guided accordingly.
Roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilman Monk.
Present.
Councilman Love.
Present.
Councilwoman Mello.
Present.
Councilman Mayor.
Present.
Councilman Garcia. Councilwoman Colon Montañez. And Council President Sher.
President, should we please rise?
Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for allowing us to speak this evening. Father God, we ask you to please guide us in the decisions that will take place this evening in your beloved name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands
One nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to be going back and forth with this microphone, and I do apologize. We are on our agenda, Roman numeral 4, please. Minutes of November 6th, 2025, December 2nd, 2025, December 16, 2025, January 8, 2026, January 2026. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes which are presented to us by the clerk? Seeing none, is there a motion, please, to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved, Council President.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk.
Yes.
Councilman Love.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello.
Yes.
Councilman Mayor.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. As a note to the members are aware, I hope, immediately at the end of the meeting tonight, not at the end, but rather immediately prior to the end of the council meeting, the council will continue its function as council, acting as on behalf as a appellate body, to be not the same, as appellate body, and we have before us 2 rent leveling board cases, one of which we are asking for it to be postponed, the other of which we ask that the council act in its judicial basis. We're up to hearing of citizens, Roman numeral 5 on our agenda. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-1 et sec, the council opens every public meeting for comments of the public. However, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of a public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation at any meeting. Therefore, please be advised that the council will not entertain any comments from persons who communicate obscene material, make statements which are considered bias, intimidation, in which a person intends to intimidate any individual or group because of race, color, religion, gender, handicap, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or makes comments intending to harass or speak any offensive language. The person who makes these statements will relinquish their allotted 5 minutes for public discussion. Is there anyone who would like to address the council, please?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk.
Yes.
Councilman Love.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello.
Yes.
Councilman Mayor.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. The hearing is closed. We are on communication. 1 through 6.
Are there any questions on items 1 through 6?
Seeing none,
at this time, is there a motion to accept items 1 through 6?
So moved, Council
There's
President.
there's a motion, there is a second.
roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia, Councilwoman Colom Montañez, and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. All matters considered to be routine in nature. Items
7 through
15.
Are there any questions, please, on items 7 through 15? Seeing none, at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept items 7 through 15?
So moved.
Thank you. If there is
Is
a
there-
motion, there is a second. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia, Councilwoman Colom Montañez, Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. This is going speedily. Perhaps it should be coming later in the future as well.
Yes.
We're on for 16, authorized to close executive session.
Not at this time, but there may be in connection with the appeals for the report.
So noted.
Mr. Fernandez?
No, Council President.
Mr. Mayor?
No, that's done.
Very good, sir.
Members of the council.
No, sir.
If you could, your office, if you
We could,
take
take off 16. Going through 17. 17 through 38, is it?
Yes.
Is there a need for a special vote
37.
on 37 and 38?
Yeah.
Are there any other items to be dealt with separately? Are there any other items that members have questions or concerns about? I have no lights on for items items 17 through 36.
Council President, you have a light. I know. The lights don't work.
Thank you, Councilman Mayor. Thank you, Councilman Love. I'm sorry, there's a light? Councilman Monk, do you have a microphone there, sir? Councilman Monk, I'm giving you this mic
I
temporarily.
have to use two.
Two mics,
So you know, I'll
case you kill it.
hold for an hour.
in case you kill that one.
Councilman Monk,
Yeah, on item 17. I'm sorry, item 17, yes. So this is a resolution to purchase and install 4 automated license plate readers. Looking at the itemized billing, the total bill here cost is $98,000. There's a warranty of $22,000, around 25%, or actually, if you take out all the extras like installation costs and annual device license fees and so on and so forth, the cameras themselves are around $43,000, but the warranty itself is $22,000, which is 50% of the cost of the cameras. Yeah, I don't know what the science is, but it sounds a little hefty to pay 50% of the cost of an item to get an extended warranty. And especially where technology is going today, how technology changes so fast. You know, a camera that works today, right, in 6 months is outdated already with new technology and new systems and new software and so on and so forth. Just like to hear some, hear some feedback here, and this is something that we should think of, maybe not accepting the extended warranty.
Mr. Fernandez, can you help us with this item, please?
Oh, you need the mic.
I'll try.
Don't
So
look so quick to give it back to him, Melvin.
these are the costs when we request for the warranty. These aren't your normal typical cameras, right? Because they're on the vehicles. So I really wouldn't have a gauge on specifically what they go for, other than these are the prices that we received. You know, and do we need the warranty? Well, because of the usage and the type of usage of the vehicle, it would behoove us to do that so that the camera, can get replaced if damaged. understanding that, you know, each camera is $43,000. 12,000. So each camera is 12,000 and each warranty is $6,000, which is half of the camera.
How long is the warranty for?
So it's a 4-year warranty.
Well, it doesn't say here how much the regular warranty. This is an extended warranty. Right? This is extended warranty. But I would imagine it's
So
probably
typically, the factory warranty is a year. And then extended warranties go beyond the year. This one would give us 4-year warranty on the camera versus the 1-year warranty.
I mean, the technology changes so fast that it's not likely that we even have cameras on in 4 years, these same cameras. Just not likely. Are you
Council President, if I may?
Bear with me just a second, Councilman Monk, are you finished making that point?
Pass the
Yeah.
Yes, Mike.
How often? The last,
But they hear you here.
oh, here's them.
Yeah, they
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
How often have these warranties been exercised in the past? It's not the first time. How often have these warranties been exercised in the past? And it's just simple. If it's every 6 months, yeah, get it. If it's never been used,
I'd have
Maybe
to
not.
I'd have to get back. I wasn't prepared for that answer, like usage of the warranty. Have we used warranties? Absolutely. Can I tell you specifically for license plate readers? I couldn't tell you specifically. But yes, we have called in warranties on numerous occasions for other products that we've purchased.
Chief Share, do you have any background on this?
First and foremost, this is a purchase from the burn grant. This is fully paid for out of a federal grant, so there's no cost at all to the city or the department. As to the warranty, I don't have an answer as to how often we utilize that. These cameras are, this is fancy. These cameras are mounted on the exterior of the patrol cars, are exposed to the elements. They are subject to vehicle crashes. They're damaged a lot in crashes and things of that nature. And so the warranty would help us to cover the cost of replacement when that occurs.
If there was a crash and the system was affected by the crash, that would be covered?
That's
by
my
the-
understanding. Yes, sir. There are also 3 to 4 cameras as part of the system, and it also covers the computer interface, the software, things like that.
If I'm giving you questions that you're not qualified, right, you'll.
Absolutely.
Do most departments have these machines?
Have issues with the cameras? I couldn't speak to other departments, sir.
No, do they have actually these license plate readers?
Yes, they are a core tenet of modern day policing. They help us solve numerous crimes. The cameras are always operational when the vehicles are driving around, recording license plates. Not only are they used to enforce traffic laws, but, you know, a car parked at the scene of a shooting will record all those license plates in that area. We can then later track them down, put them through a database, find out who was in that area.
Mr. Fernandez, do we have any alternatives to this firm? Are there any other systems that work? That perhaps wouldn't be,
Yeah, so I want to say this one specifically out of a state contract, if I'm not mistaken. So this was already bid out and it's used by law enforcement agencies throughout the state of New Jersey. So the process was done through the state and we selected from them and this company, and they've done a lot of work. They've done lots of our technology is from GTBM.
and to answer, if I may, to reiterate, I should say, a question of Councilman Monk, anything like this, the shelf life tends to be questionable because of advances that are made.
So I would ask that the council would consider the response from the Deputy Chief President that it's a mobile LPR and that some of the police vehicles are subject to crash. So if there's no limit on how many times you can replace it, and considering that these cameras are utilized specifically for crime or perhaps identifying a vehicle that may result in a vehicle pursuit, if the total cost of the individual camera is 12,000, 6,000 for a warranty for the individual camera seems like a lot, unless we replace it 3-4 times, then it's quite the bargain if it covers, especially the extended warranty. And I believe that this warranty allows for unlimited replacement, whether it's a glitch, whether, as the deputy chief mentioned, there's some kind of issue in a crash or malfunction because of a pursuit. So I think in the long run, but this is not odd when it comes to mobile devices because of the high risks and liabilities, as opposed to a stationary camera set. We have a few of those around the city. The warranty may be less because the likelihood, probability, or expectation of wear and tear is much less than on a vehicle that has to go around, especially considering the climate as well.
Councilman Mon.
Because, if it's important to vote on this tonight, I'm fine with it. If we could wait one meeting, I'd love to see the extended warranty. You know, maybe we're better off buying 6 cameras for the same amount of money and skipping the warranty. You know, I have 6 cars. I don't know what, again, there's so much information that to make such a decision, and I'm sure the departments and the administration has, like, how many cars have it? Do all our cars have these cameras? So are we better off in terms of, are we better off having 6 cameras instead of 4 cameras for the same amount of money? And this way there's more, we have more video cameras, more data, right, for crimes and so on and so forth by having 50% more cars with the cameras and skip the warranty. I'm sure there's the cameras we've had in the past, we know how long they typically last when there's no problems, right? So I don't have enough information to advise or to even give my opinion on this, but just something to think about. That's all. Just, again, I don't know if we could wait here 2 weeks on this and just to take a little bit of a deeper dive and see what's the best thing, or is something which is more time sensitive.
See if tell us whether there's a deadline on this, you can check. We may respond to you, but I would go back to what the deputy chief shared, but this is fully paid for by the burn grant. I'm not sure if there's any timing or time zone on paying for it.
I was just reminded that our next meeting isn't for a full month of pay. That's not 2 weeks.
No. Whatever,
Is this fully paid for by the grant?
The burn grant, yes. Burn memorial system.
Certain grants are only allowed to be used for specific items. Is this grant specific only, the LPR?
Well, for police.
Specifically, Mayor, specifically for training and technology.
So they're only being used.
but maybe we're better off getting 6 cameras for the same price.
So without a warranty?
Yeah.
Because that's the problem. That's the
Oh.
price of the warranty. It doesn't matter if we buy 6 cameras or
and I think it's just important to highlight this, and it actually goes to what the business administrator, and I think what the deputy chief is trying to share with the burn grant is that we can pay for the grant we can pay for the warranty with the burn grant, or we can pay for the cameras out of our pocket
Yes,
if something goes wrong.
that's.
Right now, we cover it with grant money. So if something goes wrong with the camera, we use the grant to pay for it. If something goes wrong with the camera and we didn't get the warranty, we're paying for that with city money.
I was suggesting
Yeah.
get 6 cameras.
Yes.
Okay, this way you have 6 cameras playing throughout the whole city.
Yeah.
And if 2 break, just throw them out.
But we can.
Not replace.
But
That would be the
Councilman,
warranty.
but Councilman Monk, we can stand a chance of all 6 breaking.
Yeah, but
And-
come on, you buy a lot of.
I don't
this
know if you
stuff.
can hear.
I'm just throwing this out. I know,
No, that's it.
there's no strong opinion one way or another. I'm just.
Okay, I'll give it back there.
Yeah,
Are you done?
Yeah.
Valid point, 50% of the warranty. It's just that's the thing with the grant. And I think sometimes when it comes to government purchasing, we know that the prices aren't always the most competitive. They kind of be kind of high, but that is the fact that the warranty is also covered by the burn grant is a unique component of this. And we want to keep that in mind, that if we don't purchase it, we could probably put it off. But did you get a response from the CFO? Because that's the only concern, is whether we're obligated to utilize the grant by a certain time or not.
The date of the grant, but obviously the faster we can use it, the better.
If I can put my little 2 cents in.
You need the mic.
Mike, if we could pass this down, forgive the inconvenience.
We'll start talking.
Just if it makes you feel a little bit better, I know through the purchasing and the state grants, usually these companies go through bids, so usually they pick the best one and that has the best reputation. So if they're experienced in doing this, I would feel comfortable.
I believe I have consensus to go forward, Councilman Monk. Is there anything further that you would have on that?
The only thing I would ask for, I'm just curious, for the next time this comes up, if I can get a copy of the warranty. Okay, that's,
That's in how many years, Councilman?
Why don't you still get it?
That's in 6 years? Sure.
Why don't you get that for now?
Yes, to buy more cameras.
no, I asked for a copy of the.
Warranty.
We have a response from the CFO. Funds may be expiring for the grant, not 100% sure.
Okay.
What I can say, but.
I believe that we have consensus at this point to proceed with 17 as is. Councilman Monk, do you have any other,
Gotta get the list. I'm getting comfortable with this big microphone. I like it. I like it.
Oh, geez, I thought it was gonna be quick for me.
Deter him from speaking.
and I thought it looked like a Rita's ice cream. It tells you where my head is at. Councilman,
If I could just ask the administration, that's good. If I get a copy of the warranty, just very curious what they offer for this, $66,000. Okay. Yeah. The other ones I have just more of a comment, I guess a question on, resolutions, 20, 22, 23, 20, sorry,
22,
24, 24, 25. So I was reading through the comments from our purchasing department of, as they're rating the different vendors of who to go with. So I'm curious what type of what point system, I know we spoke about in the past, but I noticed in each of these resolutions where they do a analysis and a summary of the justification why to pick one vendor that's more expensive than a different vendor. The first paragraph points out that this particular vendor is called RES. So this RES is a woman-owned business formed in 1991. And that's what each one of these resolutions has a very similar letter. Is that one of the criteria that we use in Passaic? That if it's minority-owned, they get extra points in the grading system of when we pick vendors?
Well, that's actually a statewide kind of thing.
I
You get priority.
right. I know it's statewide. The question is, does the city use the same print?
It's not the sole deciding factor, it's a percentage of.
It's not the sole deciding factor. It's under the category of ownership. It may get, maybe they'll get the maximum percentage, but it's not enough to sway the vote. Like price is usually the highest percentage.
and veteran status, I believe.
Veterans as well, yes.
So,
Women owned, minority owned, veteran owned. Those are all different categories, yeah.
there is positive prejudice shown towards women and minorities, Councilman, as I'm sure you are aware.
Yes, I know, I'm very well aware, and I understand it, and I understand what the state does. I wasn't sure, I was asking that I wasn't aware of, wasn't sure if the city had used that criteria as well.
The city can only use that criteria or more, not less.
Yeah, and then it's compounded by the fact it's a federal program. So every single one you listed is for our community development block grants and home funds, which are federally funded programs. Oh, and also the RES that you spoke about has been with us for the last 10 years and are currently in the middle of several projects with us.
I noticed.
But there's no warranty.
There is, they included in the price. That's why actually RES on one of the contracts is like 50% more than the lower bidder. So it is in there. Okay, I know, the summary did mention that the city has been working with RES with this vendor, and that this vendor has, experience in these type of funds and grants. I wasn't.
Percent, just so you understand. That one's a very unique product because it was based on the art funds for, can you hear me? Am I loud?
Yeah, so that one was a unique one because it was the ARP funds, but it was specifically for women or individuals of domestic violence. Like it's it's $3 million. That's very specific, and they are familiar with the program.
The reason why I want to share that they've been with us for 10 years is because that very much was a practice 10 years ago, specifically for contracts. I know that it was with the previous administration, maybe concerned now, but just if you consider 10 years ago, there was definitely a push where there was a point system. But this particular one, after they were chosen, they've been with us for 10 years and have had a good track record. But in the past, again, under different presidents, there were criterias in terms of point systems that we may have continued in terms of this particular one, but not so much because of that, but more because of their past work with us. Does that make sense?
No, thank you. The other criteria as well justify, I mean, picking this vendor, based on, I was just asking because I didn't see in the past, that was in the summary, that to that point. Thank you.
Any other questions on the resolution before us?
Yes, I have a question on,
Councilwoman.
item 20. So I really need the mic. 20. What's the anticipation, completion for this? The rubberized?
So this is to authorize the contract.
Mhm.
So you want the time of
So you-
delivery? Yeah,
So when will we?
once this passes, we can formalize the contract and then we'll have a pre-construction meeting. So, we're gonna try to get them in there as soon as possible, especially before the cold winter comes. So we do have enough time that they could do the site work and prep work in the fall before the construction. So our hope is we can get them in as soon as possible.
What is the process exactly, Mr. Fernandez? We publicize the availability of a certain project and invite people to bid on it. And then they send their bids to the purchasing agent who looks them over and opens them all up.
Yeah, so depending on the type of project, so this one specifically, a lot of the heavy lifting is done by the engineering department. So, typically before this, we've hired a firm to design it. We have construction design and construction inspection. Then after that, depending on what it is that you're buying for the construction or for the improvements, then we'll do a separate bid for those items. And in this one specifically, it includes the site preparation, the rubber surface installation, the site drainage, and all the stone-based preparatory work, because it is for the rubberized surface at Colonel Johnson, which is a spray park, right? One of the largest spray parks we'll have in the city. Yeah, and so it needs additional groundwork.
I was going to ask if the administration has no objections, given the councilwoman's interest in item 20, if it would be all right, and without setting precedent, but for her to be able to be part of that process, if that meets the approval of the administration and the mayor.
I was just about to say that. I thought you were gonna say she'd be the first one to slide down the spray pad slide. I'm like, what?
No, I already reserved that. I'm number one. There's gonna be some advantage to this council presidency. Are there other questions, please, on the resolutions presented up to 37 and 38? No. And no, there are no lines because there's no electric. Hearing none, is there a motion, please, to accept?
Motion.
Motion and second. This is items 17 through 36. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman,
Yes.
Council President Schiff.
Yes, thank you. 137, please. May I have a motion to accept?
Motion.
Motion and second. Thank you. On 37, roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Coloma,
Abstain.
Council President Schiff.
Yes, motion passes. On 38, please. Is there a maker of the resolution?
So moved.
Motion and second. Thank you. Roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coloma,
Abstain.
Council President Schiff.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes. We're up to Roman numeral 8 on our agenda, ordinance for introduction and first reading. 39, please. A proposed ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons by New Jersey license plate number. Is there a motion to accept for set down for second and final reading at the council meeting of August 4? Is there a motion, please?
Move.
Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Council President Schiff.
Yes, thank you. Number 41, please, is a request by the attorney for the applicant requesting that their hearing, which was to be tonight, be postponed to August 4 due to the hospitalization of the attorney, I believe. Without prejudice, is there a motion, please, to accept? Set down.
So moved.
I'm sorry, please.
Communication was from the other side, saying they're on vacation August 4th. And we postponed till after August 15th.
So we want two of them up at the same time?
No, we would want it, we need to put it on for the September meeting because the other side isn't available August 4th.
That is for this, that's the second one.
The second one.
For September 1st. Okay, to move on 41, please, to move the hearing date to September 1st from August 4.
When I do it, do I need to, move my, the first motion? Move it.
Well, we did roll call? No, we didn't do roll call,
Okay.
so I'll take it without prejudice.
Okay. Don't move it, Council President.
So 41, to change the hearing date from August 4 to September 1st. This is based on Robert Fontucoba Esquire. Is there a motion, please, to accept the September 1st date?
Yes.
Motion and second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Council President.
Yes, thank you. Payment of bills, Roman numeral 10. Are there any questions on the bills? Seeing no hands, is there a motion, please, to accept the bills as presented by the clerk?
So move.
Motion and second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coloma,
Yes.
Council President Schiff.
Yes, thank you. Administrators report, Mr. Fernandez.
None at this time, sir.
Mr. Mayor, sir?
Just briefly, I want to update the council on some of the work that has occurred in the city. We just completed the milling and paving of the roads around our St. Mary's General Hospital, including the Boulevard and Howe Street, as well as some side streets, Hillside between Van Houten and Richard Street. Also, we've completed a number of the ADA ramp sidewalk improvements down Broadway, Passaic Ave, and throughout the city in all of our wards. I also want to briefly share that over this weekend, we'd have a number of events. We had Doing It in the Park on Sunday, which was a huge success. Continued the tradition, started with Mr. John Willis, well, a little bit prior, but he was such an instrumental part, and his wife and his child kept it going. We also had the last watch party, the FIFA watch party. I want to take this opportunity to highlight Business Administrator Rick Fernandez, all those who worked with UEZ, Renee Nunez, who set up the media, all of our police, our fire, who ensured that from crowds that went up to 6,000 to rainy games where we had about 100 that stuck through, to the very last watch party where Spain defeated Argentina. We had quite a number of individuals from all over the city who came, and found out that we had many residents who are Argentinian and Spanish. Spanish, which we always are reminded is a country, not just the language. So they showed up. It was a fierce fall game. We also had our very first ever lucha libre presentation with traditional Mexican wrestling right after the FIFA games. I also want to highlight that the work at the courtyard, the plaza, has officially been set to start for Tuesday. There will be minor work in preparations, and then after the Puerto Rican flag raising on the 26th, which we halted that day without prejudice. Maybe a little, anyway, maybe not as objective, but the work will begin after that flag raising, and then we will have a remarkable and beautiful and amazing plaza right there in front of City Hall. And Bragg Park project is almost complete. In a couple of weeks, it will be completely finished, and we look forward to announcing that to the community. Over the last couple of weeks, we had a few storms. One that was very difficult. We had a number of trees that came down. There was a loss of electricity. It came at a time that was very difficult, especially in different areas of our city because of the inability to respond, specifically in terms of phone calls, unless there were extreme emergencies for some residents. I want to take this opportunity to highlight and thank our Passaic Police Department with our Deputy Chief Shayer here. They were extremely responsive. It was extremely difficult, and I use that word twice purposely because there were many challenges, not just with the loss of electricity, but we had some instances where trees came down on people's homes. Council President, members of City Council, happened throughout the area and other municipalities. But I also want to highlight our DPW. PSC&G was, of course, inundated with phone calls. So there were delays. There were areas of our city that were out for electricity 3 to 4 days. During the time we were dealing with an extreme heat wave, there were very many concerns. I want to thank our OEM, our human services, because we were able to provide shelter, emergency shelter, as well as cooling stations throughout that entire time. And we were grateful that the heat wave passed. I also wanted to share, council members, on behalf of the seniors, they've been enjoying our amenities. They've been doing bingos in the park and traveling to the park. Our seniors remind the council that they're so excited to work together and all of the amazing programs that continue to be provided to them. With that stated, I will conclude with this. It's been some difficult days that we're going through. Many in our communities are concerned, confused, questioning why different approaches have limited their ability to travel around the city. Businesses have posed their concerns and shared them. On behalf of the council and administration, we have put out information to the community of what resources are available to those who find themselves in extenuating circumstances because of all that's going on, including help when it comes to food for families that are left behind after a particular parent may no longer be available and the breadwinner is not there to provide the food, as well as connected them with existing resources, legal and otherwise, where appropriate as a city, as we are oftentimes called upon to be that safety net for individuals when they find themselves in such conditions. We continue to share that our city will always be there to support our residents, our most vulnerable residents during this last week, where because of course it's the summer and many individuals may be away. I have had the blessing of having Chief Shayer available on the phone, and his response to the concerns of the community, the needs for events and activities, and specifically difficult days, whether handling large crowds for an event or responding to storms or having impromptu gatherings that we find out about later, which are appropriate to recognize and memorialize people. The response has been just excellent by the Passaic Police Department, as well as our fire department and our emergency responders. So I wanted to take this time publicly to thank our emergency responders, our chief, and all those working together to ensure that the safety of the city is maintained and is priority. It's one thing when we're having just an event, but it seemed like there was something going on in every corner of the city, whether FIFA, whether gatherings, and then in the midst of it, heat waves and storms all while they still had to continue doing their regular jobs. So kudos, I commend them, and they don't really look for recognition. They do their work every single day, beyond the expectation that even we have, and that is amazing. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, members of the City Council.
Thank you, Mayor, and please know that if, in terms of your very kind remarks, if we substituted everyone else's name and just put yours there, we cannot, on behalf of the residents and citizens of this great city, so much of what is going on is due to your inspiration and your commitment and your ability. And it really, speaking for myself and many of my colleagues as well, it really has been a great pleasure and honor to work. We are up to a hearing. Yes, Councilman.
I'm new to this, especially relatively, maybe a year. I've never done a hearing before. Could you just tell me or to remind how this works?
I'm going to do that, and no doubt very poorly, which is why I'm going to impose upon our attorney to share with us. But we are acting in a judicial body, as a judicial body with all the rights of court. We are being asked to adjudicate between the concerns of the owner and the renter.
The landlord, yeah, it's the landlord and the tenant. The appeals pursuant to section 23110 of the municipal code, which allows either a landlord or tenant to appeal directly to the council if they are dissatisfied with the decision of the rent leveling board.
So this is their second step.
This
The
is their step.
applicant already was heard by rent leveling board. The board of 3 members of landlord, expert, and renter are represented on that board, which makes the determination, right?
That is correct. There's already been a full hearing, and
Exactly, Suzanne, what exactly is this council doing in respect? Are you evaluating what's been said? Is new information going to be presented to us?
no, we're not to evaluate new information. What we are to do is to look at the record. And the tenant has, it's the tenant's appeal. They've submitted paperwork, identifying what they believe the rent leveling board did wrong. If the tenant is here, they may articulate why the leveling board is wrong, but and the landlord may respond if the landlord is here. But we are not in a position to swear people in and take new testimony. There's already been a full hearing of that. You are acting as a body that's looking at this as an appeal. Any questions?
Councilman, Mayor, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of council? Is the proceeding?
Council President, if I may, just to clarify, through the Council President to the attorney, I don't believe the mayor or the business administrator are part of this proceeding. Part of the deal.
That's correct.
Okay. The council's mission, thank you.
Well, miss you, Mayor, but thank you so much. We are going to have the pleasure to welcome Mr. Donovan Henderson of 266 Passaic Street, submitting an appeal of the decision of the City of Passaic Rent Leveling Board and requesting that the City Council schedule a hearing date regarding the appeal. Susie, is this the actual appeal we're in now?
Yes, this is.
Very good. Is Mr. Henderson here? And who is Mr. Henderson, are you being represented by anyone or yourself only? Very good. And Susie, on behalf of the city, you'll be acting as the attorney?
Yes.
Very good. Mr. Henderson, if we can welcome you to. Very good. For the record, if we could.
Could we have your name? Thank you.
And you're an attorney, ma'am?
Yes.
And your law firm is? Very good. Let's invite Mr. Henderson to share with us.
Yes, good evening, council. I appealed the decision that the rent leveling board made on 2 counts. The 2 counts were retaliation and submitting fraudulent documents to the rent leveling board. During the hearing, I testified throughout the hearing that I submitted rent receipts that showed the base rent. However, the landlord has presented my mother over the past 17 years with a discount on her rent. We are in Superior Court right now in regards to that section. However, when the landlord did not show up for the December hearing. He showed up in January. The rent leveling board asked the landlord's son, "Are you an agent of the landlord?" He said, "No." They said, "We cannot accept your testimony. You have to get an attorney." They hired the attorney. In January, the landlord's son came with a rent receipt and he said, this whole thing I have to explain. This whole thing boils around to illegal lease that was presented to us, which is part of my testimony for the retaliation and the fraudulent documents. Okay, so the landlord was raising the rent 222%, which is against the law. Okay, that came about due to me raising a question to the New Jersey Attorney General about a flood we had in the apartment. Now, the flood in the apartment is very important, and I'm going to break everything down. When the landlords, yes, 222%. The board ruled that it was wrong. They ruled in favor of the tenant. They ruled in favor of us. The rent was $473. They were proposing it to go up to $1,500. But they put a clause in the rent stating that if my mother passed away, because I live with my mom, I'm a co-tenant in the apartment, they were upset with me for holding them responsible for repairs in the apartment. So they came with this illegal lease 2 weeks after I submitted a letter to the state and submitted a letter to the landlord. Yes.
I think what the council president would like to know is what did the rent leveling board determine? I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, they only allowed a rent increase of $17.78%.
And they also stated that it was illegal.
Per month, is that correct?
That's correct.
So ultimately, your rent, as a result of the decision of the board, went up to $490.78 a month.
Well, actually not go up because we're in Superior Court about the rent as of right now because of some illegal activity on behalf of the landlord. So we are in front of Superior Court as it relates to that. So the rent has not been raised at this point. The rent
That was
leveling.
their determination that it would go up.
Yes.
From the 478.
Yes,
to
they
the
ruled against the 222.
478.
Yes, they ruled against 222% increase. $1,500. No, $473 to $1,500. And the rent leveling board ruled against that and said they could only raise the rent 3.7%, the ordinance from 1999. And we're in Superior Court now in regards to that. So they submitted this illegal lease. When the landlord's son came, they didn't show up in December for the December hearing. In January, the landlord's son came and he says, "Oh, the $1,500, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. We didn't mean to put $1,500 in the lease that we were going to raise the rent to $1,500." And he says, here's a copy of the rent receipt from January, and it shows $826. And that's not the rent receipt that they had given to us. So my argument to the rent leveling board is they tried to defraud you by submitting rent receipts that are not in comparison. When I was giving my argument before the rent leveling board, the attorney interjected and said that there are two ledgers. Yes. No, this is not new.
I think he's trying. Yeah, I think he's trying to reiterate what happened at the hearing. But perhaps you could confine your comments to what, what actually the board did that was wrong instead of a play-by-play
Okay,
about the
so
hearing.
what the board did was wrong is that the board chairman, in the middle of my argument, made a statement. I'm trying to show you, he made a statement in terms of the reason why they submitted the illegal document to the board. The attorney had made a statement that there's two separate books. That's on public record from the February hearing of this year. My argument to that was the IRS says you cannot have separate records. You cannot have a ledger showing one thing and rent receipts showing another. That's against the law.
But Mr.
What I'm
Donovan,
saying
they
that
did
is wrong,
they
what
did
I'm saying is wrong by what they failed to do. What you said, what they failed to do was ask the appropriate questions as to why, what was the purpose of you submitting a rent receipt that is different from what you gave to the tenant? Why are there two separate books? One that you say is a ledger that's different from the rent receipts that you are given to the tenant, which is in violation of the IRS code. That's my argument in terms of the fraudulent document. Appropriate questions were not asked during the hearing. An invalid statement was presented by the rent leveling board chairman, who stated to the attorney, is that a pro quid, which he got the terminology incorrect. He was referring to a quid pro quo, which has nothing to do with illegal documents. Quid pro quo deals with favoritism that someone gives you in concert of getting something in return. That has nothing to do with this. Other statements were being made during that hearing that was inappropriate. I sent a certified letter to you, Mr. Chairman. I sent a certified letter to the city clerk asking for the chairman to be removed from the rent leveling board. He was able to make a final vote on the hearing. I believe that this affected the case. This is in regards to the fraudulent documents.
Mr. Donovan, if I
Yes.
could ask you a question?
Sure.
Ultimately, the board found that in your favor, that the landlord could only raise the rent $17.78 per month. So ultimately, they accepted the documentation, apparently, that you gave to them. So what other power? Let me finish,
Okay.
please. What other power do they have under our ordinances to do anything other than simply evaluate the documents and make a determination? You're talking about IRS and different books, and I suggest that might be beyond the board's powers. What practical outcome would you even seek?
The board did not rule in favor. They did rule in terms of what you're saying in terms of the rent, but in terms of the retaliation, they did not rule in my favor. And you are correct that the board cannot address anything that's in relation to tax fraud or anything, but they could do is evaluate, because in their decision, they stated that they could not tell because the records were, the rent receipts were all contradictory. They failed to do an investigation, which is in their power, to say, why are these documents contradictory? Why are these documents are not in line with your general ledger? Their own attorney testified that there's a separate ledger for,
Okay, yes, and we heard you, but
yes.
but just once again, what they accepted your version of the documents as true. So really, what else do you see
If
that
they-
let me please finish my questions before you start your answers. What do you foresee, and under what legal standard under our municipal ordinances that they could have taken any further action on the fraudulent document portion of your appeal, other than to accept your documentation as true and confine your rent increase to $17.78 per month.
They should have ruled that the document that was submitted to them, because they didn't do a proper investigation. They did not do a proper investigation as to why the landlord submitted a document that is not the same document that you presented to the tenant. They ruled in favor of the landlord in terms of the retaliation. What they could have done, which they did not do, was do an investigation. They did not ask follow-up questions. Instead, the chairman made an inappropriate comment. Now, in regards to the inappropriate comment, I did file a complaint with the local finance board, which I have a letter here if the council would like to see it.
That's not before
Stating
the
that
board at this time. I don't want you to go into what you filed with, an ethics committee, because that's not what we're here for. I want you, and I think I've heard, or we have heard, and I don't want to cut anybody off, but what the basis of the first portion of your three-part appeal is, that you believe that they should have ruled. And just one more time, is there, what would have been the outcome that you seek as a result of any ruling? And under what portion of our municipal ordinance will the board be empowered to do anything?
I believe that if the inappropriate comment was not made by the chairman and an investigation was done by the rent leveling board by asking specific questions, the outcome would have been different. That is what I believe.
Do you believe you would have gotten an increase rent that was less than $17.73 a month?
No, I'm not arguing. I'm not even arguing about the rent. I'm arguing about two counts that I'm appealing, the retaliation and the fraudulent document. I'm not arguing about the rent because that's before the Superior Court right now. My argument, yes. Yes.
But if I could do, someone,
Yeah.
you can ask you to introduce yourself and share with us,
Good evening, Carla Marquez of the. Sure. Good evening, Carla Marquez of the Office of Friend and Ones on behalf of the landlord, Tavares Realty LLC. Just to try to summarize very briefly, with regard to Mr. Henderson's concerns that the rent leveling board did not ask the appropriate questions, I should note that Mr. Henderson had the benefit, as well as the members of the rent leveling board, to cross-examine the landlord, which was my client, one of the agents of the LLC. There was ample opportunity to ask the questions, and Mr. Henderson indicated that, they should have asked these questions: why there was a discrepancy with the receipts, why was there, different receipts provided to the rent leveling board during different times or phases of, this went on for about 3 hearings, separate hearings. So everyone had an ample opportunity to ask those questions, cross-examine my client, and my client responded to that. And at the end, as counsel indicated, the decision was made. And also with my client, we did concede to the fact that the increase was erroneous, and therefore accepted the increase that was permitted by the ordinance, which was $17.78 above the 473. So again, the information that was provided by Mr. Henderson as part of his submission for the appeal is not new information. It's the same information, documentation that was provided to the rent leveling board. There are no new arguments. or new information or new evidence that would warrant for, an overturning of the decision of the rent leveling board. The other thing that I want to just point out is that Mr. Henderson mentioned that there's a Superior Court matter. At this time, there is a filing on record, but there's been no movement in that Superior Court case. For what it's worth, that's all I can say about it, because like I said, there's been no further movement other than beyond the original filing. Again, I submitted my response to Mr. Henderson's appeal. I don't know if the board has been provided with those documents, because otherwise I can just read it to the board. And it's pretty straightforward, being that there was no new information provided to warrant an appeal of the rent leveling board's decision. To be quite honest, I believe that as council pointed out as well, the solution to the problem has been provided and established. And at this point, I don't know what Mr. Henderson is seeking, but the point is moot, right? We keep going back to fraudulent, this receipt, fraudulent, that receipt, but that was all considered as part of the ultimate decision by the rent leveling board to go with Mr. Henderson's account of the information, facts, and the rent leveling board made that decision with regard to the rent. As far as what was the considerations with regard to the rents that were submitted, the rent leveling board had an opportunity to cross-examine my client and ask him why the discrepancies, and those questions were addressed. And you can go back to the record and get those responses from my client. You'll hear, his explanation for it. And at the end of all that was taken and gathered and considered, and the rent leveling board made their final decision.
Very good, thank you. Any questions from Councilman?
Yes, what question?
I'm sorry, here's something. What is the question? Is it to decide if the $17 increase should stay? Is that the whole question here tonight?
No, he's actually not appealing that. What's being appealed is that the rent leveling board did not do anything about an allegation of fraudulent and inconsistent receipts, which is why I was questioning the ultimate
Shouldn't we
outcome.
go to a board of some form or another?
Well, if we're talking about IRS fraud, and I would suggest that's beyond the board's powers.
Wait, so what else? So what is
So
it being?
the other two things which Mr. Henderson started to talk about were allegations of retaliation and harassment.
Also would not be this board is not, if there's an issue, then you file a complaint with, I'm not sure which body, but this board serves as to appeal or to reverse a decision from the rent leveling board, not to take complaints of the rent leveling board.
We do have a provision in our ordinance that talks about retaliation. But it's there, but it doesn't specifically relate back to the powers of the rent leveling board. Although in this case, they did find that they had jurisdiction to address the retaliation and harassment complaints, and found that the conduct did not rise to the level of retaliation and harassment. And that is something for the council to take a look at from two perspectives. Number one, should the violations, the anti-harassment provisions which are set forth in 231.13, which provides any tenants desiring to remain in their units may do so without provocation or retaliation from landlords. For the purposes of this section, harassment of tenants may mean conduct committed intentionally or negligently by a landlord or anyone acting on its behalf, reduction in basic services, necessary health, safety, and welfare of the tenants, heat, hot water, adequate security. So really I could give you a legal opinion that perhaps those kinds of determinations are better filed in Superior Court than before a rent leveling board. But they did rule, but they found it that there was nothing that rose to the level of retaliation.
No, that's only recorded, I'm sorry.
So in other words, the rent leveling board determined that there was no retaliation of the landlord towards the tenant.
Yeah.
And Mr. Henderson is appealing that decision as well, claiming based on what happened, what transpired there, that it does reach to a level of retaliation.
Yeah.
Now,
I think we would not, the board would not be able to make any kind of award to the tenant if they made such a finding.
But was he adding a substantial basis of the tenant? The tenant's comments.
Sure, I understand. They could, if you find retaliation under violations and penalties, there could be a fine, but that would go to the municipality, not the tenant.
yes, so where do we go from here? I'm still not sure what our,
Well, I would suggest that we continue on because we really didn't get to Mr. Henderson's allegations of why they are wrong with the retaliation and harassment. He was addressing the fraudulent, inconsistent receipts. I would hear it out from both sides, and then we can deliberate. And if we want to have a more extensive legal discussion, maybe that's best in closed session.
I think we're getting to, we're not rehabbing the hearing, which is essentially what you're, if I heard you correctly, that's essentially what we'd be doing, is having another hearing when that hearing has already taken place with regard to each of those counts in front of the rent leveling board. My understanding, the last time I was here with front of the rent leveling board and Mr. Henderson expressed that he was intending to file this appeal, he was told by Council Rodriguez that the appeal would be basically for the council members to make the determination as to whether the rent leveling board made an error in their decision without having to rehear it. We're not going to put on a trial again. We're not going to.
No, we're
hearing
not.
again?
But just as if you were in a court, you
Right.
can make an argument. You know, I believe these 5 factors constitute harassment, but we're not going to.
But if it's not new information or new allegations or new evidence, then there's no need for that to be entertained. There's
Actually, the opposite. We're not considering new evidence, but if there was a clear error of the rent leveling board, then that's what we're here to determine.
Councilman.
No, somebody made this.
Question.
Do you have a grievance against the leveling board, or is this an appeal of the determination of the $17.73 increase?
No, the $17 increase, that is not part of my appeal. That's separate.
Understood.
Do I have a grievance with the state against the leveling board against 2 people? Yes. That's separate from this. However, okay, that's the question for you. That's the answer to your question.
Those two people are.
The rent leveling board attorney, Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Soto, for comments that were made during the rent leveling board that were inappropriate. And as the attorney mentioned, in terms of the fraudulent document, she is correct. I did have the opportunity to ask the landlord questions when he was on the stand. However, part of that grievance is about I was cut off during my argument while he was on the stand and I was not allowed to finish. That is part of my grievance with the state. In terms of now the state says there is probable evidence and they are going to conduct an investigation. That is the letter that I'm giving here because her testimony.
We're not hearing anything about.
I understand. There's a lot of side, I filed a grievance with the state. I have one with the Superior Court. So I'm trying to figure out where now the council members stand in making any decision with regard to the rent leveling board. I mean, if he files a grievance with the state, where does that put you in terms of, let's say, making a decision at this point? Does
Well,
it even matter?
We haven't,
Yes, I agree.
And I'm concerned that we have, recognizing the tremendous quality and intellect of my fellows, and we will feel that me at least we might be going rolling on my own confidence in terms of determination of what should or should not be the case here. It seems to me on one hand that the $17 is de minimis, but Mr. Donovan, Mr. Henderson, excuse me, sir, has made it clear that that's not the main complaint that he has. His main complaint is against two individuals who acted inappropriately, the lawyer and the chairman. However, that is not within our competence.
If the health issue tonight is two members of the rent leveling board, why is it even necessary for the attorney for the landlord to be here? The issue is not the $17. The issue is a grievance against the leveling board. So what does it have anything to do with the landlord at this hearing?
a grievance, which this is something that's not before the board, is any grievance he has with any member of the rent leveling board or what he did or didn't do before, with an ethics complaint. We shouldn't even be looking at that. We shouldn't be addressing that. We're not going to address it. This is simply, the tenant filed an appeal alleging that the rent leveling board made errors in connection with their findings on fraudulent documents, harassment, and retaliation. There's a submission in your packets, which outlines the argument, which it's basically that the landlord's son became, angry and wanted to raise rent. And then really talks a lot about the documents. And that's really the basis of this appeal. And I don't, the papers are here. The presentations are really just meant to be highlights of what's already here.
Council President, if I may.
1 moment.
Just to the attorney.
Please, forgive me, Councilman Love.
Yes, maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see anything from the rent leveling board themselves in this packet.
No, this is simply,
So the reason why I asked that question, even if it was in our privy, we wouldn't be able to make a determination on any wrongdoing without information from, this is all based on Mr. Henderson's view of, so we wouldn't have anything from the rent leveling. And if I may, and so one, like I said, even if it was in our privy, which is not, I think that the decision that's at hand, and this is just me, you're the attorney and you can guide us the right way, is the increase, which was the only action I see was taken by the rent leveling board, was to and actually it was favorable to the client with the $17. So again, I stand with my colleagues. I don't have a clue at this point of what our task is tonight. I don't.
Yes, no, Councilman Love, please.
Yeah. So I just want to get a clear understanding. And as Council President articulated, Mr. Henderson has already said the increase is not an issue.
That's correct.
The attorney for the client has clearly stated that her client, the rent leveling board already determined that the increase, for whatever reasons, they took in consideration all of those documents and the actions, according to the representing attorney, all the actions of her client, and they determined $17 would be the increase. So once again, Council President, I just want to be clear on what we are hearing.
Well, the three bases for the appeal are the fraudulent and inconsistent receipts, which there's nothing you can do about that, and it's a moot issue. The retaliation and harassment, they made a determination. I've reviewed the submission as it is. I don't see anything indicative of any retaliation or harassment. And I guess the reliance is on the provision in our municipal code, which prohibits harassment, and that the rent leveling board actually did take jurisdiction of the issue and make a determination. The practical effect, however, to Mr. Henderson would be nothing, because there's no relief that they could afford him in connection with that determination. And I would just, if we're going to get too further along, maybe we should go into an executive session to discuss, legalities, but
Would that need to be a request from a council member?
To go into closed session?
Yes.
Well, it's up
Some
to
people
it's up
have
to
to
the chair
lift
to
a warrant.
determine if we should go in that direction, and I would suggest that I think we have a little bit more to explore, counseling as a public body.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
I'm fine with that.
So that wouldn't afford any relief to the tenant. And what I was going to say is that with respect to factual findings, of course, the rent leveling board, as any underlying finder of fact, because they heard the testimony, they reviewed the whole record, and we only have, what's before us, which, has a little bit in it, but they're entitled to some deference.
According to what we've heard, there are three issues. Fraud is one, which clearly this council is not competent to determine. The second is retaliation, which I don't know if it's been shared to the council what that retaliation is or has been. And the third was harassment. And again, we've heard no testimony on that. This body is not supposed to identify new information, but rather go over existent information that was provided. Is there anything, ma'am, from the landlord's point of view, anything further you can share with us that would, one part of me says that this is a clear issue of constitutional infringement of the rights of an individual, that there's any number of things, and I don't know what any of them mean. I'm not an attorney, and I don't suppose that I want to be. My daughter-in-law is an attorney, my brother-in-law is an attorney, my brother's an attorney. I've got enough attorneys in the family. To boast that one of them is a cop, too. So.
Council President, I don't have any additional information. I hate to repeat myself, but all the information and documentations were provided to the rent leveling board. The rent leveling board and Mr. Henderson had benefit of the documentation, exchange of evidence, cross-examination of my client from both the rent leveling board and Mr. Henderson. I don't want to confuse this even more, but from my reading of Mr. Henderson's appeal, it seems like, yes, he's appealing the fraud, retaliation, and harassment, 3 counts. But when you look at it, it seems like the core issue of each, at the end, he writes bias, and he claims that the board was biased and improper conduct. And he makes mention to failure of a certain rent leveling board member not recusing himself. So
I'm going to interrupt you for just a moment, because forgive me, I'm hearing all of this as my colleagues as well. voluntary boards are established part of our government to involve the citizenry in decision-making affecting them as members of any given jurisdiction, municipal, county, state, whatever. It seems to me that the kind of involvement that we're being asked to adjudicate here is well beyond the competency of any of the founding fathers and mothers in terms of how government should be structured. I can't imagine for the life of me how many people are sitting on boards like this feeling that they have little knowledge of what's going on, or what they're being asked to do, or why they're being asked to do it. I'm debating whether to entertain Councilman Mayor's suggestion that we postpone this hearing for another date to further explore it. But I'm concerned that by doing such, we could provide some basis for, in the future, of being just drowned out at these meetings, and it's neither time nor competency that this council has. Can you give me any final thoughts on this case, ma'am, from your point of view?
Other than that, there is no new information that was provided by Mr. Henderson or any new evidence that would otherwise change the mind of the rent leveling board had they been presented with that information. And that's where we are. We don't have anything further.
Good deal. Thank you. Mr. Henderson, could you give us a brief summation?
In terms of the retaliation, Councilman Love is correct that you weren't provided with information regarding the 4 hearings, which if you do go into executive session, I would ask that that information be submitted to you because it's very important to this case. I did argue during the 4 sessions, December, February, and March, 3 of the hearings, that there is a pattern. When you talk about retaliation, you have to show a pattern. There's a pattern. I testified during the hearing that when we did not have heat in the apartment, we went to the city for help. As a result of that, the landlord said, I'm not going to fix nothing. He didn't fix anything for over a year. My mother is 86 years old, an 86-year-old woman living in an apartment with no heat. I had to call in the state to force the landlord to fix. That's a pattern. In September of 2025, there was a flood in the apartment. I submitted a letter to the landlord in writing and to the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey. As a result of that, he submitted an invalid lease saying we're going to raise your rent to 222%. That's a pattern. July of this month, there's a flood in the apartment as of right now. I sent all of you an email because I tried to download the pictures, which my copy at home, my printer at home is not a photo, showing water coming from the ceiling. That's a pattern. I sent you the testimony of the email response to the landlord. The landlord responded back to me on the 10th. I contacted him on the 6th. On the 16th, I followed up with him. When are you coming to take care of this? Because we have the heavy rains. He said, I am busy. That is a pattern. When interrupted by Mr. Soto, who made inappropriate comments. No, you don't have access to that grievance, but that grievance showed Mr. Henderson had a right as a tenant to cross-examine the landlord, but he was interrupted by the chairman of the rent leveling board for matters that happened outside of the council's jurisdiction.
All these issues are to you filing an application with the rent leveling board, correct?
The September issue in terms of the flood in the apartment, that was a part of my original, when I came to the rent leveling board about the rent increase to show that the landlord illegally tried to raise the rent after I questioned him about the ceiling leaking.
Okay, but it
ceilings
was all before you went to the rent leveling board, right?
before
Just-
and
yes,
during,
yes.
before and during, yes.